At last, the Robert Saleh deep dive I've been promising all week. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alex Clancy here. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast platform. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. The divisional round is here. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. So this was supposed to be 2 days ago, and then some news happened. This was supposed to be yesterday, but then word came out that Mike Tomlin had parted ways. So now another big name needs to be discussed as to why the Arizona Cardinals may or may not go after him. I talked about that yesterday. Today, though, is the one I've really been looking forward to. Brian Peacock, Locked On 49ers, dear friend of mine here. Dude, we're going into year 10, bro.
It's pretty insane. And I can understand why this is the one you're looking forward to most, because you get to talk to me again.
That's right.
And unfortunately, it's not like when I get to talk to Corbin for the third time, because there's about to be a playoff game. Maybe next season we can do 3. And instead of talking about new coaches, we'll talk about the playoffs.
Yeah, that's great. I can't spell playoffs. Let's not talk about the fun that you're having over there with Eric Crocker, Locked On 49ers. So how today is going to go is this a good fit for the Cardinals? Talk about that in the final segment. What are the deterrents to hiring Robert Saleh? Are there any? What are the negatives? What are the downsides? Obviously, he had one stint in East Rutherford. Didn't go so great. Completely different circumstance. But it shows he's not afraid of a dysfunctional organization to take a head coaching role. Brian, I don't like to say this often to you. Talk to me about the positives about Robert Saleh since he's taken over for Steve Wilks as a DC of the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, and it's more the same that we saw in his first stint as defensive coordinator for the 49ers. He's a stabilizing force. He is somebody that Kyle Shanahan hired and then can relax and knows that it's all going to be fine and taken care of. I think when you look at Robert Saleh and what he's done this year for the 49ers, last year the 49ers were not great. They were kind of scattered defensively. The scheme has been the same. And that was one of Kyle Shanahan's big things is like, I don't want the scheme to change. So you guys have to run this thing that we basically, put together with Robert Saleh. We saw DeMeco Ryans run the same scheme. He's taking that to Houston. I want to talk about that because I think it's really important seeing what that defense is doing right now. And then, and try to get Wilks and Sorensen. Those were one and done defensive coordinators running the same scheme. It's not just about X's and O's and running the scheme. There's more to it than that. And you've seen that with Robert Saleh now coming back, and immediately they fixed the run defense. And now, with a bunch of injuries, it's gotten a little bit worse, but so impressive against the Philadelphia Eagles, as undermanned as the 49ers were. And to see the 49ers get really good linebacker play from Eric Kendricks, who's off the street, and Garrett Wallow, who hardly played in the NFL at all and off the street as well. And they come in and they lead the team in tackles, and they don't miss tackles, unlike the week before. And it's not a superstar defense right now. They're not shutting teams out because they don't have the guns to do it.
Right.
But just the fact that they could just bend, not break, die a slow death out there, play sound, play fast, play physical, and allow their offense to get the ball back a few times and try to go win the game is some phenomenal stuff and so impressive. And seeing him out coach the guy on the other side in Philadelphia, so much so that I think the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, if it hasn't happened by the time this episode airs, is going to get fired because of how badly his team that had so much more talent on their side of the ball got beat by Robert Saleh's unit.
So talk to me about this, because the Cardinals have the most guys on IR, all the injuries and stuff. And anytime I would bring it up, because Brian, I think you're of the same ilk as mine. Are we like old school now? It's weird. Like early 40s is a weird time because we're not old school. We're not OGs, but we're not, the young bucks talking about it. But for me, it's like, I don't talk about injuries. I won't. It's like, you don't talk about refs. You don't talk about bad calls. You don't talk about injuries. You just go until the Arizona Cardinals, the entire team was hurt. It's like, okay, now it's a main character in the plot line, in the storyline as to why this is cratering. The 49ers have injuries. That's what everybody said to me every time I said that with any sort of combatants. How can you describe Robert Saleh's coaching ability, which could lend really well to head coaching ability, develop talent that on the fly that maybe wasn't ready to play those amount of snaps that they ended up playing.
Man, I think the best example is how many players he's gotten ready to play, not only just to start, but play at a high level. You see how Dre Greenlaw developed into a guy who gets big money on the free agent market. We're seeing what Azeez Al-Shaair, who was an undrafted player and became a starter with the 49ers and is now starring on that defense with the Texans. Who's the linebacker for the Jets that just got big money in the offseason? Narrow guy who only goes about 220 pounds.
McDonald? I'm trying to remember.
I'm thinking the other is it Sherwood? Anyway, he's been able to and we've seen it this year. We've seen it with D. Winters. Obviously, Fred Warner was a star as a third round draft pick, and he's able to find these players. And if you are on board and play the way he likes, and by the way, he's going to say the word violent about 100 times when he talks about draft prospects, and when he has his opening press conference for whatever team he hires, he wants you to play fast and play violent. And the scheme is simple. But if you are up to the standard and you play like a maniac, you're going to be awesome in his defense. And we've seen that with so many players, no matter where they're drafted, multiple teams now. We've seen that with Robert Saleh. And I think the biggest thing from, is a guy a head coach meter is when he speaks, do you believe it? And are you ready to run through that wall? And I think he has that quality.
Yeah. And, the Jonathan Gannon's a nice guy. He's more of the stoic on the sideline. I think that he'll be a head coach again. I think this year it was just kind of like, there's so many reasons to fire him, and bringing him back is just because of the injuries, and you just couldn't do it at this point with where the roster's constructed and everything like that. An enforcer sometimes is severely overblown. It's like, okay, you can be rah-rah, but if you're a Ponzi scheme, what does it matter? Robert Saleh has already proven at a deep in the playoffs, run multiple times in San Francisco, like level, that he's not a Ponzi scheme. Is he a leader? Looks like it. Is he a dude that people follow? Looks like it. For me, the top segment I did 2 shows ago on Tuesday was the Cardinals need to find a player developer because they've drafted well. Monty Osborne's got a lot of flack, and you've seen from afar, like, man, we talked about Walter Nolan, we talked about Will Johnson, we talked about these guys that have been drafted. Even Marv, it's like you can't just draft a talented college player and just expect them to be elite without the massaging necessary from a coaching perspective. It's so obvious that Robert Saleh would be that guy. And that's what, even though everybody's going offense, it could be Clint Kubiak, it could be all these things. If you got to zag when everybody's zigging for something like that to kind of hedge in the NFC West, I think it would be proven.
No doubt. His scheme is sound. The way he coaches it, he gets a lot out of his players. He finds players, gets them ready to play, and they play at a high level. And it's pretty telling, especially at the linebacker position. He's a former linebacker coach, and that's kind of in his blood. And he gets guys ready to play in a playoff game and go win a playoff game after a couple of weeks. He gets guys in the 5th round and turns them into star players. And so it's really fun to watch that and watch all the development and watch it all come together. And how quickly it came together for the 49ers this year. Week 1, week 2 is like, oh yeah, that's right. Robert Saleh's here. So we can stop worrying about the defense. That's going to be set, and it's going to be solid. And so you just know that you're going to be good there. He's going to get guys motivated, and he's going to run a sound scheme and develop talent on the defensive side of the ball.
Not everything's perfect. There's got to be some downside. Brian's not going to lie to me. We'll talk about that next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate QB, football legend. The draft pick positions are set. So many teams are looking for their franchise quarterback. Ever wish about being a number 1 quarterback, picked number 1 overall by the Arizona Cardinals? Maybe yes, maybe no. Well, now you can. There's a mobile game just for you called Ultimate QB Football Legend. You step in as a number 1 draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to lead your team to greatness, to help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty, kind of, mirroring reality for the Cardinals. You do everything from sign contracts, train and upgrade yourself, build chemistry and evolve your teammates, give input to your GM on roster moves, play actual games in 2D, and rise through the ranks to become a pro football legend. You'll deal with the ups and downs of a QB career, from rookie nerves to playoff drama and every choice shapes your journey. Ultimate QB is totally free, has no ads, and works 100% offline. Perfect for when you want to sneak in a quick game or two on the go. Just head over to ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimate-qb.com, or search for Ultimate QB in your app store. And we've got something special for you guys. Use the promo code Locked On, all caps, in the game store to get a free boost at the start of your career. Ultimate QB football legend. QB1. It's your legacy, man. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by ZocDoc. ZocDoc's awesome. It took me 2 weeks to get into my current doctor's visit. I switched over to ZocDoc very quickly. Finding a doctor you actually like is like discovering a diamond in the rough, and you want something in-network, nearby, with availability, but you also want a doctor who really listens, makes you feel comfortable, explains things clearly, and helps you walk out feeling confident about your next step. Your diamond in the rough doctor exists, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can choose someone you truly connect with. Stop putting off those doctor's visits. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. Brian Peacock, Locked On 49ers, joining me. One of the people on this planet who knows Robert Saleh very well. Not personally. I'm sure he's a swell guy.
He's a good guy. I do like how when he had a little post-game on the field argument with Liam Cohen after the Jaguars game, he went from about to shake his hand to I will end your bleeping life in half a second. So, yeah. Don't get on his bad side.
Yeah, he's got that in the rep for sure. And I mean, that's the thing. Like when Dan Campbell got hired, it's like that's a big dude who demands or commands, a presence and respect. It's like just because you're 6'5" or 6'6" doesn't mean people are going to respect you. It exacerbates it in a good way if both are the case. Now, on the other side, he failed. I mean, miserably is not true, but he failed on at least offensively with the Jets. They had a good defense. He was able to elevate Quinnen Williams and other guys. Like, he showed enough promise for me on the defensive side of the ball when he was with the Jets, and then now that he'd be a good fit. Now, tell me things that if you were to dissuade somebody from hiring Robert Saleh, what would you say?
I would say that he doesn't play quarterback, coach quarterback, or coach offense at all. And that's what did him in New York, because they got quarterback wrong. And if I'm looking at it from Robert Saleh's perspective, I would, if I'm Robert Saleh, I would hope that the Baltimore Ravens offer me their job because they have a quarterback. And so that's where I would say, man, okay, if you're a team that doesn't have a quarterback, and even if you have a quarterback guru coach, that doesn't mean you're going to get quarterback right and everything's going to work and be awesome on offense, because those coaches get fired over and over again as well. But you have to find the right offensive coach. And if you do get that quarterback and you do get that offensive coach, then offensive coaches get hired again somewhere else, right? And so that's sort of the dance you do with either a CEO head coach or a defensive-minded head coach. But that doesn't mean it's not a successful way to go either. And so, yeah, you're just really worried about the offensive side of the ball and how you figure out quarterback and how you navigate that. And who's going to be running those things and who's going to be the quarterback whisperer to develop the next great quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals if you were to hire Robert Saleh. And I think he does have enough connections in the NFL. And if you want a piece of that Kyle Shanahan coaching tree on offense, there's going to be coaches available to do that. You talk about personalities. I don't think Mike McDaniel's a head coach personality necessarily. Yep. I love the guy. He's quirky. He's brilliant. But, man, what about that combo? If you're Robert Saleh, you go into that interview and you say, well, I'm going to bring Mike McDaniel with me as the offense coordinator, and we're going to have some fun, and it's going to hum on the offensive side of the ball. Two very different personalities. And that would be very intriguing if I was an owner looking, or a GM looking to hire the next head coach. But yeah, offense is the big question. Can he navigate that and find the right offense coordinator and find the right quarterback? Because that's what it's all about in the NFL.
Now, with his scheme now, I mean, not getting too inside baseball, like when you're watching film, when you're watching games live, when your eyes are obviously not at the ball, you're watching defense and things like that. Where are his weaknesses there? Because it's interesting for Cardinals fans to hear, like, well, the talent. There's some DB talent here. There's some front talent here with Walter Nolan and Josh Sweat. The off-ball backer talent is there if Mac Wilson is healthy. We'll see what Cody Simon does next year. Where does he struggle in scheme? Where does he struggle in elevating talent if there's a specific position group where it's not as good as, the run defense that he obviously elevated this year?
Yeah, and I see the biggest positive and negative with Robert Saleh's scheme is how static it is. Teams know what they're going to get, but they're sound running that static scheme. And I sent you something separately that kind of showed in graph form, defenses that used the least diverse amount of coverages and personnel groupings and blitzes. And they just don't blitz very much. And if you can't get home with your front four, you're not going to get home very often. That's just the way it is. But for their scheme. And I think that graph had the 49ers as the third most static defense in the NFL. But who was number one? It was the Houston Texans and DeMeco Ryans, who run the same scheme. And I think that's what you see. And we saw that with the 49ers starting in 2019, 2021. These teams went to the Super Bowl that had elite defenses under Robert Saleh and DeMeco Ryans. When you have the horses and you're running that sound scheme and you can get home with your front four, look out, because it's going to be difficult. And those quarterbacks are going to have to find small windows to throw in. And it can be defeated, but it gets very difficult. And so if you have those players up front, it can start to look a lot like those Niners defenses of the past, or like the Houston Texans defense this year. And I wouldn't be worried about developing, box players and linebackers. Go find nasty, violent, pass rushing defensive linemen that fly off the snap and fly off the football. And it's going to be a really good defense under Robert Saleh.
Yeah. And, they've got, they've got their pick. They've got number 3 overall. This is sourced is Match Quarters is the source of the graph you were showing me. And for reference, the Cardinals had the second least static defensive schemes in the NFL in 2025, meaning Nick Rallis had, he had 5 safeties on the field at times. He had they went banana sandwich all year. I mean, part of it due to necessity when people got hurt, but early on they were running 3 safety sets. So it's it would be the antithesis of that. And Cardinals might be like, you know what? Give me some stability. Give me something. You know what you're going to get. You're going to find the right guys to fit that scheme instead of just, you know what? Let's figure it out. Maybe we'll try this guy down and he'll drop down as a backer. Maybe we'll have 3 safeties. Maybe, whatever it is. I think stability with Jonathan Gannon did bring outside the lines. He brought stability in a culture that the Cardinals desperately needed. Unfortunately, they weren't able to execute, especially down the stretch 2 years ago, and then, not at all last year. So is there anything locker room wise where, and I think this is a fool's errand to even ask, but I just got to check the box. Anything personality wise that could be a light red flag that you'd want to stay away from?
No, there hasn't been anything. Everyone talks super highly. The 49ers couldn't wait to bring him back when they had the opportunity to bring him back as a defensive coordinator, even if they knew he might only be around for a year or two. Well loved, well respected. He demands respect from his players. Everyone loves playing for him. There's from that aspect. And look, it's not like Tomlin or Harbaugh or Bill Belichick were offensive coordinators or quarterback whisperers either. So if you find the right man in charge of your program, then that's really the name of the game. And I think Robert Saleh could be that. And, I think he has to pick his next job wisely. I think the best way to put it is 49ers fans and probably a lot of people in the building would very much not like Robert Saleh to stay in the NFC West and get his next head coaching job.
Yeah. And that's part of the questioning going into the final segment, because it's why the hell would you want to coach in the NFC West, irrespective of who it's against, irrespective of who it's with, the lowly Cardinals, or if Seattle's job came, if Mike McDaniel wanted to be an astronaut, or Mike McDonald wanted to be an astronaut and not coach anymore, if that became open, whatever it was. That'll be the line of questioning next. Brian Peacock, would he be a good fit for the Cardinals? We'll discuss it next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Divisional rounds here, man. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action, because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to bets you like most. The boost lets you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. The boosts give you more juice on bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your bets, you make your picks, then you apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling here. So visit FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Host of Locked On 49ers, host of NFL Six Pack, Brian Peacock, buddy of mine, knows Robert Saleh better than pretty much anybody in the Locked On network outside of Eric Crocker, his esteemed, colleague over there. Would he be a good fit for the Cardinals in a vacuum, regardless of division, just as a fit for the talent the Cardinals have with Budda Baker? You'd think Will Johnson, Garrett Williams, Walter Nolan, Josh Sweat, and the others.
I love the personnel. You can run that 4 down front. You got big, nasty, strong defensive linemen that can get upfield. From that standpoint, from getting a stable leader head coach, I think Robert Saleh is going to be a good head coach when he gets that opportunity again. I think absolutely he'd be a good fit for the Arizona Cardinals. From the Cardinals' perspective, I would probably be surprised if they hired Robert Saleh, because it's just what happens in the NFL. You had the defensive-minded head coach, didn't work out, then you go to the offensive-minded head coach and vice versa. And so we'll see if it ends up going that way for the Arizona Cardinals. They might try to make their division opponent weaker. Is that, part of the calculus for them? I'm not sure, but I think he'd be a fantastic fit, and I think he'd be a stabilizing force, and I think he would get things going in the right direction, and you would just worry about who that next quarterback is going to be. Unless, I've kind of been acting like Kyler Murray's already gone. Clearly he's not. So maybe would be part of the plan. I don't know.
You would think, by and large, he's not part of the plot anymore until some random occurrence would mean that he is. But we're assuming that he's not. So with me, I went back, when I'm, texting buddies, fans, whatever, or, people, listeners DMing me and stuff like, why would he want to come to the NFC West? Why would you want to hire somebody from the NFC West? Why would that? It's like, it's not the Cardinals' fault that 3 of the most solid coaching bases are still in the playoffs and they happen to be in the NFC West. It's like, they're not a coach away or this away from competing. They need to take that 0-1 jump to stability again between the lines. And I don't care. First of all, there's no downside because Robert Saleh, first of all, has number on Kyle, number on Sean, number on Mike. He plays them 2 times a year also. And then, the Cardinals twice a year. It's like, you want to know the weaknesses from the Cardinals? Ask a coordinator who you just hired from a different organization. It's like, it's something that there's zero downside for me. And yeah, it's terrifying to have to think, oh, now you need to go get an OC to be able to run an offense that can highlight Marv and Michael Wilson and Trey McBride, unlike what Drew Petzing was able to do. It's a lot. There's no right answer for me. But Clint Kubiak's out there. That would terrify me about the defense. It's like, the Cardinals don't have a strength. I don't think the 49ers have a strength. They're just strong. There's not something you bank on. And obviously it's going to be the offense when the defense is crippled, but you can play ugly. You can win by scoring a lot of points. There's no the offense is the strength of this team and then the defense is the weakness. The Cardinals have 2 weaknesses. They need to pick a strength. They don't have the liberty to be that far along right now. So it's like, pick Robert Saleh, ride, and you know what? Maybe with Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh now available, he may not be able to get the job that he wants, which would benefit the Cardinals also. Just a weird time to think about this stuff.
Yeah, you got to pick the guy that you believe has the best big picture and is going to lead men and build the right locker room, and then worry about the rest of it later because you can't fix it all with one guy.
It just seems so daunting. It's like Clint Kubiak, I know that you're not Corbin Smith with Locked On Seahawks, but it's like, it seems like the easy fix would be, no, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., you draft a quarterback in 2027, and you got an offensive guy. But I'd almost rather have that powerhouse defensive head coach and just find a wunderkind to run the offense and just stay in his box and do his thing. I'd rather have that. I feel like, as you mentioned, Bill Belichick did it for 20 years, and he happened to have Josh McDaniels for the last long stretch. It's just like, that's how you used to be. That's how you used to win. Defense, run the ball, and have a solid quarterback who's an elite game manager, and that's it. we've obviously shied away from that over the last 15 years.
I think Clint Kubiak's a good coach. I think it helps that his last name is Kubiak to be able to get where he is. And there's a lot of nepotism going on in the NFL. It's just insane in the coaching ranks. And, I think a lot of guys that end up being great coaches are great coaches, but they wouldn't have got their start if they didn't have their last name, right? And I think Shanahan's one of those Kubiaks. And that aside, when you just look at, in a vacuum, the Seattle Seahawks and why they are where they are, I don't come away thinking, it's because they got Clint Kubiak.
I think you're right.
Right? And so I don't know if he's the right guy. I guess it's his right time to start getting head coach interviews, but I don't know if I view that as a savior just because his team is in the playoffs and was the 1 seed that he's going to come in and all of a sudden fix your entire organization. I don't. That's a big leap because they're a defense driven football team, and that's why they are where they are. But I think he's a good coach, and I think he deserves some head coach interviews. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the home run hire would be that's the offensive guy because those guys don't become available.
And that's why you take the strongest defensive guy that you can get in this cycle. It's not, nothing is just cut and dry, black and white. It's like you got to figure out what the best option is for the situation you've got, and it's not going to be perfect. You've dug yourselves a damn hole. And hearing first-time head coach again for the 3rd time in a row, 4th time in a row, with Steve Wilkes also, it's like, you know what? Give me a guy who had a great defense and a bad offense in East Rutherford. He's used to dysfunction. He had a very, very good defense. If you have a good defense, you can win football games. And I think that it's just, that's why he's my number 1 choice. Is it perfect? No. Is he going to even look this way? Probably not. But that doesn't mean that I can't look at him like I looked at DeMeco Ryans before they hired. We had the same conversation about DeMeco Ryans 3.5 years ago now before they hired Jonathan Gannon. So any parting words on him? Like, if he's here, you give him the meal ticket. I think it's safe to say. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it helps if you get to draft Nick Bosa early on or Will Anderson early on to really kickstart that defense. And can you find that player to add to the mix and you'd feel really good about it. But I'm with you, play really good defense and have a solid program and build the right locker room. And wins are going to come and wins are going to follow that. Otherwise, you're just going to draft a 30-year-old Davis Mills and hope he's the next John McVay.
That's right. That's right. Brian, tell me where they can find you.
You can find me every day, Locked On 49ers, playoff football team. Also, NFL 6-pack daily with my guy, Matt Williamson, breaking down the entire league right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.
The elitist dig didn't come until 28 minutes this time. I thought we were going to snake by it. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.